Today we go from beggar to farmer. And of course you already know we're not using vanilla Skyrim. Today we're using a mod pack called Nolvus, which is a mod pack with some of the most beautiful graphics in the business. Every town has been overhauled. There's new quests for you to conquer. Combat has 4 different stances for you to choose from, changing up the animations depending on the one you choose. And it even affects first person. There are a whole bunch of character customization options, so your role-playing potential is unlimited. Not to mention all the new armors and weapons added for you to go and find. I'll leave the links down in the description for this mod pack if you are interested, of course. But for now, let's get started. The dangerous world of Skyrim has ravaged many a family over the years. This is the story of one of those families. And although some unfortunate events happened, this tight-knit family is ready for a change. Our main character used to be a soldier in the Imperial Legion, but due to an eye injury, his days as an archer were over. The mom, however, was a healer at the temple, and together they had 2 kids, one who seemed to gain the skills of her father's archery, and then one whose skills are unknown still, as she was bit by a vampire in the slums of Riften due to an unfortunate accident in the slums. She did have a sort of blood fairy to fight those appetite cravings though, but enough was enough. It was time to make a new life and not just settle for this place they now called home. And since they used to own a pretty well-off farm, managing to luckily save 1 goat, that was their goal. They needed to earn some money, find their way out of Riften, and start a new life on a farm. The only question was, how? The first thing we needed to do was get some gold, so it was time to leave the slums for now. When we got outside, however, we were in luck. There was a dead member of the Thieves Guild, and he was stacked with some items. So this is our chance to take this stuff. Maybe we can pawn this stuff off. So we went over to the pawn prawn. We sold these stolen goods, and now we had ourselves a hefty 542 septims. If the family was going to make it out of Riften though, we would need some way for the family to defend each other. So we ended up picking up a hunting bow, some arrows, and then 1 more dagger. So now our girl was equipped with the bow and arrows, and we gave our vampire daughter a dagger to protect herself. We were slightly equipped, and that would have to do for now. So it was time to set out. The family's new life was ahead. We just had to successfully make it over to Whiterun. So we all walked the path. And I gotta say, this was a beautiful day. The greens were greens, the birds were chirping. And so far there was no danger in sight. Until we ran into a frostbite spider. But our goat went in head first and started headbutting this thing. And since we had skills from the Imperial Army, spiders weren't nothing. This family unit was going to be tough to beat. Now if we continued the normal path, we'd run into a bandit hideout. That wouldn't be good news. So we chose to use an alternate path. We extinguished a few of these rats and then continued on our way. We eventually made it to Shore Stone, where we had the opportunity to see what we were striving for, our own self-sustaining farm. And nothing was going to stop us. So we took a quick rest for some lunch, because the wifey for lifey could make some delicious horker stew. Damn. But afterwards it was time to head off again. We had a lot of ground to cover. It unfortunately started raining though, and it was getting pretty bad out. We ended up having to take refuge in this cave. The storm was too bad to just be out there. Plus we've been traveling all day. This would be a good time to rest up. We just had to make sure this place was safe. And so far it wasn't. Bandits had made this place their home. So now we had to take them out first. So the goat and I took lead. We learned that our vampire daughter had that magic power, and we had slain our first bandit as a family unit. And now it was time to upgrade ourselves. We now had some new gear, making the next bandit even easier to take down. We had slain the rest of the bandits, and now we suited up the rest of the family with some new gear. We took some time to rest in this cave, but the next morning it was time to head out. And it was a frosty morning, so it was a good thing we had some new fur armor. So we made our way back down the hill. The fog started rolling in, and visibility was becoming slim. We then heard the howls of wolves, and there was a pack of them on our tail. So we had to act as another family unit and take these guys out. Good job, team. On the way to Whiterun, we had the opportunity to sightsee, gazing at the natural beauties of the world, and then having to sneak past a giant camp. Eventually though, we got closer and closer to Whiterun. We just had to survive a few more spots, and one of those spots happened to be Valtheim Tower. This tower was blocking this family's path to freedom. We had no choice but to go through them. So we entered into combat with these bandits, and we started hacking and slashing these guys. The wife was providing those deep heals, and these bandits were absolutely getting executed. Even the goat was putting in work. Damn, this was like the Civil War all over again. But these bandits weren't battle hardened. These guys fell pretty quick. The bandits had all been slain, and now the way forward to Whiterun was clear. We did end up making it to Whiterun during the nightfall, so we couldn't sell all of the goods that we collected. So for now, we had to make camp outside of town. The Khajiit caravan outside let us stay the night, and it was definitely more of an upgrade than sleeping in the sewers of Riften. When morning came, the family headed straight to the Jarl. We asked Avenici if he knew of any plots of land we could occupy, and to our disbelief, there was one such spot. It was right on the outskirts of Whiterun. The only thing was this place was haunted. That's the reason nobody wanted it. So if we could get rid of the spirits, we would have ourselves a free plot of land. So before heading over to check out the spot, we ran over to Bellathor's. We sold the various goods we've been picking up, which net us some pretty good money. And afterwards, it was time to head over. Things were now looking on the up and up, as long as we could rid ourselves of this curse at least. So we made our way through the plains of Whiterun, sneaking past a few more giants, and just enjoying the smell of nature. We stopped to have some mud crab for lunch, having ourselves a bit of crab leg. But as the sun set, we found our location, where we were quickly attacked by a ghost. This was the ghost of the last farmer that lived here, so we sent him to his final resting place. We now had to find out what was happening, so we started our investigation. We had to solve the mystery, because this was a beautiful plot of land. So we entered inside looking for clues. The kids were already making themselves comfortable, and then we stumbled upon a journal. There was a hidden laboratory here that we needed to find. This would point us to our next clue. So we found a staircase to what seemed like a basement, and then we found a button nearby. This opened up to the secret laboratory, where we found a dead body. She had been murdered, and then the ghost of this murdered corpse showed themselves. We had to send them back to their final resting place as well. This place was getting creepier and creepier. But then we found another journal. We had to find out what happened to this person named Rin. We then searched the house for some more clues. And under the bed in the kids' room, we found another journal. This journal was leading us to the well on the farm. If we could find the well, we could find out what happened to this kid. And when we made it to the well, we found the child's remains. They were eaten alive by wolves. So we took the sword he used to defend himself, and we went to go return it back to the plantation. Maybe this would allow this kid to rest at ease. So we returned the sword, and the spirits came forth. We told them the family could rest in peace now, and that we would take care of the farm for them. They then gave us the keys to the Golden Hill plantation. We were now owners of this fine farm. We were one step closer to living our dream. Before we could get started though, we needed to get some rest. So we hit the deep sleep until the next morning. And now we had to get started on the basics of farm life. We found some seeds in the house, so we began planting our crops. We had planted our first field of crops, and now we were looking like true farmers. Now we were a tight-knit family, but we were gonna need some help running this farm. Luckily, we knew the right man for the job. This man served with me in the Civil War, and he was basically the same as our family, injured and just roaming the world. So we recruited our mans. We suited our man up, and then we found out we couldn't make him our steward. Damn. We had to find somebody else. So the next day we journeyed over back to Whiterun. We found a dark elf down on her luck, and she was more than happy to help out. We then made her our stewardess. She was in charge of recruiting more farmers to help us, and we were responsible for expanding the farm. We needed to build a couple of buildings, but we needed the necessary supplies. Luckily, this farm came fully equipped, so we began cutting some wood, and by the end we had plenty of lumber to spare. And luckily there was a quarry on the farm as well, so we had plenty of stone to make our supplies. It had taken a few days to fully get the supplies we needed, but eventually we had a working farm, a place to forge things we needed, a place to plant our crops, a well with fresh water, bees that would only please. And now we finally had livestock, our own fluffy cow, a few free-range chickens, always producing those organic eggs, and even a few more headstrong goat. We even managed to acquire a stallion, turning this family's dream into reality. Against all odds, they escaped the sewers of Riften and made the journey over to Whiterun in the hopes of creating a better life. And thankfully, they were successful. The farm was no longer safe though. War bells were chiming in the distance, and previous soldiers in the army were being drafted back. Our family man had no choice but to report back to Solitude. We needed to end this war once and for all, because his family and farm were counting on him. We couldn't let this fine piece of land go to waste. So he said goodbye to the wifey and kids one last time, and it was time to head out. We had a long journey over to Solitude. So we rode through the quiet forests, fought off some bandits on the way. We eventually made it to the outskirts of Solitude though. And on this night, we decided to spend it outside the city walls. We'd have one more cozy night by the fire before everything turned to chaos. The horrors of war were now inside the city walls as well. We needed to put this war to rest. Before this became an everyday sighting in every hold, we couldn't let our kids live through this. This cycle needed to stop. So we marched through Solitude, and we went to go report into Legate Rikke. So we reported in. She already had a job for us to end the war. There was a fort overrun, and we needed to clear them out. We essentially needed more strongholds. So the more strongholds we could conquer, the more garrisons we could build. This would secure our victory in the war. So we set off to this fort, and once we made it to the top of this mountain, we were immediately attacked. It was time to take these renegades out, but these archers might be a problem. We had to take these guys out first. So we cleared the main gate, had ourselves a little potion, and then proceeded deeper inside. They still had archers on the high ground, but our man Lucian was taking them out with them fireballs. Glad to have a mage on my side. There was one more archer on the high ground, so we had to proceed carefully by blocking his arrows, and then getting close enough to slice and dice his mans. Bye-bye. Everybody was slain now, at least on the outside. We now had to make our way inside. So we made our way in, and were immediately attacked again. It's a good thing we had a strong left hand. These guys were rootless in their attacks, but they were overwhelmed, getting hit in the back with those fireballs. We ended up taking out this bandit chief. So now the bandit menace was quelled. I kinda stubbed my toe though. Damn, that hurt. We now needed to make sure the rest of the fort was secured. And once we cleared out the prison as well, we'd now be able to build a garrison here. So we went back to report to our officer in charge. After relaying the information, she sent men to commandeer the fortress. And now that we proved ourselves capable again, we were officially re-enlisted. We needed to retake the oath now. So we took the oath once again. And now we had no choice but to end this war. We now had a siege operation to assist in. We needed to stop the Stormcloaks from getting an artifact. And on the way, we needed to quell some undead. So we dealt with these Draugrs with the full force of the Imperial Legion. We then saw our old friend Hadvar. What's up, big baby? The officer in charge gave a speech. And now it was time to storm the ruins. So we went in swords drawn and went on the attack. We slaughtered these initial Stormcloaks. They didn't know what was coming. And then we made our way inside the temple. More Stormcloaks came to take us, but these guys were quickly taken out as well. It was a slaughter fest. There's no way these guys would get the crown. More waves of Stormcloaks came, and one by one they fell. These guys wouldn't give up though. But of course we wouldn't either. We still couldn't leave any of them living. Our small group of men was actually making it deep inside. We eventually made it to a sealed door, which the Ebony Dragonclaw would unlock. But once we got the right combo, the way forward opened its way up. It was time to finish this campaign. We then found ourselves in another conundrum. We needed to find the way to open the gate. So we hit up the ladder and tried looking for some kind of lever. We eventually did, but that unlocked the Draugr and their coffins as well. Damn. We now had to take out the undead once again, which wasn't necessarily a problem. The undead stood no chance, and we quickly laid them back to rest. It seemed that we had made it to the final chamber now, where we heard whispers from a mysterious wall. And then one of the soldiers found the crown on a corpse. Of course, the Draugr weren't too happy about it. We had to take out the old king in order to get this crown. It was time to finish these guys off. My goat was hitting those headbutts on these guys. I was coming in with the two-hand pound town, and then all that was left was the king himself. So we attacked him from the back, while the rest attacked from the front, and the king eventually fell. We took the Jagged Crown, and now we had to deliver the crown back to Solitude. This would definitely put a dent in the Stormcloak operations. We handed the crown over to General Tullius. We had captured the crown, but we lost good men in the process. This is why we left the war in the first place. But now we had no choice. We now had some news to deliver to the Jarl of Whiterun. He needed to choose a side for this war, so we put the pressure on Jarl Balgruf. He was gonna deny the Imperial Legion again, until I told him about the attack from the Stormcloaks impending. He consulted his second-hand man, and after exchanging a few words, the Jarl had finally made a decision. Now we had to march into enemy territory. We had to deliver a message to the fake king. I was just hoping they wouldn't kill the messenger. So wearing full Imperial Legion gear, we marched into the Stormcloak castle. We went directly to their war room, and gave Ulfric the message from the Jarl. He then told me I was on the wrong side. We'll see about that. He then promised to attack Whiterun. Damn. He didn't know I'd be there to defend it though. So we marched back over to Whiterun to give the Jarl the news, but it seems that they already had the news. The Stormcloak army was on the way. Luckily, the Jarl got some troops from General Tullius, so now it was time to get orders from our new officer in charge, and it looks like it was Pedro Pascal. So we got orders from Pedro, and we needed to defend the city with our life. The Stormcloaks were already here, so we sprinted through the city, and this town was getting catapulted on. Damn, they were trying to take out innocent civilians. We made our way outside of the walls, and this was the final stand for Whiterun. We got another inspiring speech, and now it was time to beat some cheeks. We hopped the barricades, and we had to defend Whiterun from the waves of Stormcloak soldiers. So we went in hacking and slashing, and took these soldiers out. Bye-bye, Stormcloak, man. These guys wouldn't let up though. They were doing all they could to try to get inside. We just had to thin out their forces enough to overtake them. We had to take a potion mid-combat. These archers weren't playing, damn. But I wasn't playing either. Some of them made their way inside though. Damn, our defenses were failing, but their forces were thinning out. We just had too many soldiers for them to try and conquer, and the walls of Whiterun were strong. They eventually started a retreat now. We had our victory this day. It was time for us to retreat too, back inside the walls. The Jarl this time had an inspiring speech. I knew Jarl Balgruf was ballin', but unfortunately we couldn't stay for long. We needed to report back to General Tullius. He was happy that the Jarl finally chose a side. He then decided to promote me, and even give me a new weapon. He now requested that we went to a hidden military camp. We gave him a yes sir. We now needed to solidify our strength in the Pale, so we reported for duty. We now needed to run some espionage, so we went to a local inn nearby to see if we could convince the barkeeper to help us out. We bribed him with some gold. He told us that the guy we were looking for was a frequent here, so we decided to chill until we saw him. And not before too long, he showed himself. We told him we need his documents, and he just attacked us. What the heck? I didn't want to, but I had to take this man's out. That was on him. With the documents on hand, it was time to report back. We handed over the documents, which laid out their next plan of attack. So we forged some documents, and then we gave these documents over to the Stormcloaks. I told him I was trying to blend in with the enemy. I don't know why, but he believed me. That was only part of the plan though. We now had to secure another fort, so we went over to meet our men. And once we arrived, it was time to take out this fort. We needed more power in the Pale. The more garrisons we had, the better. So we used our new weapon from General Tullius to burn these guys to the ground. We broke through their barriers, and then we broke their wills. These Stormcloaks were going down. We were losing good men though again. Damn. But we were overpowering this fortress. I just needed to take the high ground to take out these archers. They were absolutely slaying my men. So I began taking these guys out. I used to be an archer myself, so I knew all the tactics these guys used. Damn. We then were getting overpowered by 4 of these heavy hitters. Damn. We needed to retreat a bit and hit that potion. Damn. Then it was time to get back to business. We were now overwhelming these guys. They couldn't block the flames from this new sword. Only a bit more forces remained now, and then we finally slayed the last of them. The snow was blood-soaked, and we had another victory in our books. Our job in the Pale was done for now, so it was time to report back to the commander. We got promoted again, and now we needed to regain control of the rift. So we went to the Imperial camp in that region and reported back in. We now needed to gain some evidence, so we went over to Mistveil Keep to start our investigation. We made our way into the back rooms. We then quickly found our evidence before these guards found out what we were doing. And now it was time for a little blackmail. So we showed her the evidence, and she wanted to talk in private. So I followed her to her room. She gave us some information on a large gold shipment. This could definitely change the tides of the war. We had to report this information back to the legate Ricky. So we relayed the info, and of course it was time to take action. We needed to meet up with the scouts and overpower this caravan to seize the gold. And our main man Hadvar was here this time. He was in command of this mission, and I would follow his orders to the T. Now it was time to sneak in. We were going to take out the sentries first, and while they took out the sentries, I would sneak into position. Now it was time to take out the caravan. For such a big gold shipment, there wasn't a lot of bodyguards. We were quickly able to burn them down. Our shipment was secured, so we went back to camp with the news. We took the remainder of the night to rest up and recoup. There was another battle we'd have to tend to in the morning, so we had ourselves some dinner, thought about our family back at the farm, and had some good convos with our mates. But morning soon came, and with it, more death came. We needed to overtake another fortress, so we went over to Fort Greenwall. We broke open the barricades and started slaughtering these soldiers. We had a few heavy hitters, but my mans was a heavy hitter himself. The Stormcloak's forces were taken out, and now the Imperial Legion had yet another garrison. We were slowly conquering every region of Skyrim, and now we were back to report to General Tullius. We were now needed in Winterhold, so we made our way into the freezing Imperial camp this time, reported in for duty, and now we had another place to overtake. We first needed to heat up though. Damn. We had to get moving though. Skyrim was counting on us. On the way we had to take out a few bandits, which gave us a new cloak to keep ourselves warm. And then we met up with the rest of the forces. We needed to mount a rescue operation, so we waited until it was nighttime to make our move. We had men kept in their prison, and we happened to know a back way in. Unfortunately, I wasn't skilled in the art of sneaking, so we had to bulldoze our way in. So we rushed the gates to this fortress and began laying out these stormcloaks. The cover of night was our friend though. These guys weren't expecting me to come in, at least by myself. So we eventually made our way inside of the prison. We needed to rescue our men, but they had more than just warriors down here. Damn, they had necromancers and creatures. Now the battle was getting serious. We had to take out this master conjurer first, so we sliced his head off. But we were still left with the Ogrim. Damn, my goat and Lucian were putting in some work though. I just had to play it a little bit safe, so I hit it from the back, while my goat distracted him in the front. And with our combined teamwork, we were able to take this beast out. Damn, that thing's ugly as hell. We now made it to where the prisoners were being held. We grabbed the key real quick, and then started releasing these prisoners. We needed to get these good men out, so we freed them all, and now it was time to completely take over the fort. So we began slaying the rest of these Stormcloaks. And now with the fort secured, it was time to head back to the general. We were now considered a legate. We were rising in rank, and with more rank, we gained more responsibility. We now needed to conquer Eastmarch, so we reported to our hidden camp in the region, and reported in. We had another garrison to conquer, so we met our men in this thick fog, and it was time to head out. We were winning this war one piece at a time, and every piece of the puzzle counted. So we stormed this base in the guise of the fog, broke through these barriers, and then started the dance of our blade. The Stormcloak's forces were getting weaker and weaker, while we were just getting stronger. These guys didn't stand a chance. The full force of the Imperial Legion was too strong for them. Their morale was just beat, so we were quickly able to take these soldiers out. Bye-bye, Stormcloaks. With the fortress conquered, it was time to report back in. With the Imperial Legion's strength at this level, it was time for our final assault. Windhelm was going down, so we stormed the Windhelm city gates, just like they did back in Whiterun, and we had to make our way into the throne room. So we slayed any Stormcloaks that got in our way, breaking any barriers preventing our path. We fought our way until we made it outside of the Stormcloaks headquarters. We made our way in, and it was time for Ulfric to pay for his crimes. The maid offered us some wine in this confrontation. Appreciate that, but no. Because now it was time for the final battle. We had to take out his right-hand man, while General Tullius was taking out Ulfric. So we sliced down Stonefist, and Ulfric was knocked. It was now my job to finish Ulfric off. So I gave him a swift jab of the blade, and took his life. The High King was now slain and naked, and now Skyrim had a decided victor. The Imperial Legion had finally won, and the horrors of war were now over for now. We now were able to return home. The war was over and we could finally rest. Our wife Takata was pleased to see us again. And of course the little rascals were happy to see us as well. With the war finally over, we could now finally enjoy our new life, one with family and friends, being able to lead the new generation, and enjoying the farm life we worked so hard to get. It was time to lay down the sword again, and relish in the moment of being with our family, for now at least.